don't usually whisper their pain into cameras. But tonight, the silence breaks. And what you're about to hear is heavier than applause, heavier than fame, heavier than beauty itself. This is the sound of faces that smiled for the world while quietly falling apart behind closed doors. There is a moment, just before the lights come on, when a celebrity studies their reflection and asks a question they never say out loud. Not will they love me, not will I succeed, but will I still recognize myself when this is over? For decades, Hollywood has sold the idea that perfection is a destination, that youth can be negotiated, that scars can be erased with money and courage. But behind that promise are stories buried under contracts, makeup, and silence. Stories of recovery rooms at 3 a.m, of hands trembling under white sheets, of mothers calling their children to say they're fine when they're anything but, of surgeons whispering reassurance while the clock ticks louder than the heart. One actress, adored for her timeless face, once confessed to a close friend that she felt like a stranger had moved into her mirror. The tabloids called it a refresh. Fans argued online, defending her or accusing her, as if her skin belonged to them. What they didn't see was the quiet panic attack in a hotel bathroom before a red carpet. The way her fingers traced her jawline in disbelief. The way she canceled visits with her aging father because she didn't want him to see what she'd done. She said later that the hardest part wasn't the pain, it was realizing she had crossed a line she couldn't walk back from. A legendary pop star, whose face once launched 1,000 posters, spent years under a microscope where every change became a headline. Each procedure was supposed to be the last, the fix, the moment of peace. Instead, it opened a door to endless debate and cruel jokes, a public trial conducted by strangers. In private, he wrote letters he never sent, apologizing to the child he used to be, the one who believed love would come without conditions. Those close to him remember nights when he spoke about breathing, about how it felt harder than it should, about how fame could turn the body into a battleground. There was an action hero, broad-shouldered and fearless on screen, who chose surgery after an injury and then chose it again to stop the whispers about aging. He laughed it off in interviews, but at home, his wife noticed the silence. He stopped looking at old movies. He stopped attending reunions. When a younger co-star joked about staying young forever, his smile froze. Later, he admitted to a friend that he felt like he had betrayed the very thing that made audiences trust him. Strength, he learned too late, was not the same as control. In another corner of the industry, a beloved comedian hid behind humor while struggling with complications no one expected. The jokes kept coming. The audience kept laughing. But between tours, there were hospital visits, infections, fevers that wouldn't break. He once told a nurse that he wished people understood how lonely recovery could be when the world thinks you chose vanity over vulnerability. His family remembers the fear in his eyes when he asked if this would ever truly end, if his body would forgive him. The debates raged on television panels and late-night monologues. Was it empowerment or insecurity? Was it art or addiction? Famous faces became case studies, their before and after photos treated like evidence. A young actress, just breaking through, watched all of it and felt the pressure close in. When she finally went under the knife, she told her mother it was for her career. What she didn't say was how scared she was of disappearing, of being replaced by someone younger, smoother, quieter. Afterward, she cried not from pain, but from the realization that the applause sounded different now, hollow, like it was meant for someone else. Connections crisscrossed these lives. One star warned another at an awards show bathroom, eyes locked in the mirror, saying softly, "Don't start, if you can still stop." A legendary director quietly urged an actress to rest, to step away, remembering how a friend from decades earlier never recovered emotionally after chasing an impossible standard. Names you know, names you love, all linked by whispered advice and unspoken regret. There are last conversations that still haunt families. A singer calling her sister before a risky revision, promising it was minor, promising she'd be home soon. A model leaving a voice note for her son, explaining that sometimes adults make choices because they're afraid, not because they're brave. These aren't stories of glamour. They are stories of humans bargaining with time, with fear, with love, and often losing more than they expected. As the cameras keep rolling and the debates grow louder, the truth remains quietly devastating. Behind every public argument is a private room where someone sits alone, touching their face, wondering when it stopped feeling like home. This is where the story truly begins, in that fragile space between who they were and who they thought they needed to become. Beloved faces don't age in peace. They age under judgment. And once the first change is noticed, there is no going back to anonymity. The second part of these stories lives in the aftermath, the quiet hours after the bandages come off, and the world decides whether it approves. One actress remembered waking up and asking the nurse for a mirror, then asking her to take it away just as quickly. She said the reflection felt unfamiliar, like meeting a relative you're told you should love, but don't quite know how. When the photos leaked days later, the internet exploded. Friends defended her. Critics dissected her. What no one knew was that she spent that night vomiting from anxiety, whispering to herself that it was temporary, that swelling lies, that time would fix everything. Everything. A legendary television star, once celebrated for her natural beauty, chose surgery after years of hearing the same question asked in different ways. Are you tired? Are you sick? Are you okay? She thought changing her face would quiet the noise. Instead, it amplified it. Producers stopped calling. Roles dried up. In private, she admitted to feeling punished for trying to survive in an industry that taught her survival required transformation. Her daughter later revealed that family dinners grew tense, not because of arguments, but because her mother avoided eye contact, afraid her own child was mourning a face that no longer existed. Another story unfolded in whispers around a famous pop princess. The pressure was relentless, the expectations impossible. Every time she appeared in public, cameras zoomed in closer, hunting for proof of change. After a procedure meant to be subtle, complications set in. Swelling that wouldn't fade, pain that medication barely touched. Her team told her to rest. Fans speculated wildly. At night, she called an old friend from before fame, crying about how she felt trapped in a body that was no longer cooperating. That friend remembers her saying she just wanted to feel normal again, even for one day, even without the applause. A respected male star faced a different kind of cruelty. When his appearance shifted, jokes followed. Memes spread faster than sympathy. He laughed publicly because that's what men in Hollywood are taught to do. Privately, he spiraled. He skipped premieres. He avoided mirrors. His brother later said that the shame cut deeper than the physical pain, that the world had decided aging was acceptable, but trying not to age was unforgivable. In his darkest moments, he questioned whether he had lost his right to be taken seriously. Illness enters some of these stories without warning. A famous model underwent multiple procedures over the years, chasing perfection while ignoring warning signs. When an infection turned severe, doctors spoke in hushed tones. Her partner sat by her bedside, holding her hand as machines beeped, listening to her apologize for putting beauty ahead of health. She survived, but she was never the same. She withdrew from public life, later admitting that recovery forced her to confront how much fear had been driving her decisions all along. Connections between these lives become clearer in moments of honesty. A veteran actress reached out to a younger star after seeing her photos trend online, sharing her own regrets, her own scars. She wrote about how no procedure ever fixed the feeling of not being enough, and how therapy, not surgery, finally gave her peace. The younger star read the message 3 times and cried, not because it was comforting, but because it was too late to undo what had already been done. Families carry their own quiet grief. Parents who don't recognize their child's face. Spouses who pretend not to notice the difference because they're afraid of hurting someone they love. Children who grow up seeing old photos and asking innocent questions that land like knives. One actor confessed that his son once asked why he changed his face, and he didn't have an answer that felt honest. That moment, he said, haunted him more than any headline ever could. Public debate never accounts for these private reckonings. Panels argue about empowerment, while hospital rooms echo with fear. Social media declares winners and losers, while real people learn to live with permanent choices. The second chapter of these lives is not about vanity. It's about consequence. About realizing that altering the outside can awaken wounds buried deep inside. The cameras keep watching, the world keeps judging, and somewhere, another celebrity sits alone, weighing a decision that could change everything, unaware that the hardest part may not be the surgery itself, but the silence that follows.